8,800 ships struck Earth. Only 17 survived the slaughter. They came like death itself. 8,800 ships, blotting out the stars, swallowing Earth's orbital defenses in a tide of molten steel and screaming metal. No warnings, no ultimatums, no mercy, just the cold mathematics of extinction. I was aboard mining platform Helios 9 when the first wave hit 37,000 kilometers above Earth's surface, close enough to see the lights of New Shanghai glittering like scattered diamonds across the night side. My shift had just ended double rotation in the lithium extraction bays, hands still cramped from operating the hydraulic claws when the proximity alarm started screaming. At first we thought it was debris, maybe a rogue asteroid, but then the scanners lit up like a Christmas tree, 8,800 contacts dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation, moving with purpose that made my blood freeze. The orbital defense grid responded first. Luna Base firing everything they had, massive railguns that could crack a moon. Spitting tungsten slugs at near light speed, the Mars garrison launched their interceptor wings, sleek fighters that moved like angry wasps. None of it mattered. The alien ships didn't even slow down. They absorbed the impacts like raindrops on armor plating and kept coming. Their return fire was surgical precise. Each shot aimed to disable, not destroy. They wanted us intact. They wanted us whole. My name is Zane Draven, former sergeant in the Terran Colonial Marines. 23 years of service, 3 tours in the Vega conflicts, 2 Purple Hearts, and a chest full of medals that meant nothing when the sky caught fire. No rank exists now, no chain of command, no government to serve, just 17 survivors floating in the void like ghosts at their own funeral. 17 ships out of Earth's entire defense fleet. We didn't survive because we were heroes. We lived because we were forgotten, overlooked, like space junk drifting in the cosmic wind. The Banshee wasn't even supposed to be operational, just a decommissioned patrol frigate I'd bought at military auction, planning to convert it into a long-haul cargo hauler. Her weapons were deactivated, her military transponder scrubbed her hull painted matte black to avoid pirates. Never thought criminal intentions would save my life. But when their scanning beams swept the system looking for military signatures, we were invisible, just another piece of salvage floating in Earth's orbital graveyard. That's where I witnessed the transmission, not meant for us, more like a status report, broadcast on frequencies that made my bones ache. One word repeated over and over in a language that sounded like grinding metal and dying screams. Processed. Like we were raw materials ready for refinement. Not people, not a civilization, not even animals, just resources to be harvested and converted into something useful. They didn't see us as enemies, they saw us as inventory. I watched from the Banshee's observation deck as Earth died, not quickly, not mercifully, but slowly, methodically, like a surgeon removing organs from a living patient. The first thing they took were the cities, not with bombs, but with something worse, massive beam weapons that didn't destroy but transformed concrete, turned to glass metal, fused into impossible geometries. And the people just stopped moving, frozen in place like statues. New York became a crystal garden. Its skyscrapers twisted into spiraling towers that sang in the solar wind. London's Thames turned to liquid mercury flowing backward toward its source. Beijing's sprawling metroplex collapsed inward, forming a perfect geometric mandala visible from orbit. And through it all, the screaming not from the cities, they were silent now, but from the space stations, the orbital habitats, the research platforms, as one by one they went dark. Luna Base lasted longest. Admiral Reyes fought like a cornered animal, throwing everything he had at the alien fleet. But they just absorbed his attacks, learned from them, adapted their shields to match his weapons exactly until his railguns were firing blanks. The last transmission from Luna Base was Admiral Reyes himself, his voice cracked and broken. "This is Terra Command to any survivors. They're not trying to kill us. They're trying to keep us alive. Whatever they want us for, it's worse than death, then static, then nothing." I floated there for 6 hours, watching my world die, unable to move, unable to think, unable to accept that everything I'd ever known was gone in less than a day. That's when the other voices found me. First was Kira Voss aboard a stolen medical transport, her voice cutting through the static like a laser. "Anyone out there? Anyone still breathing?" I didn't answer right away. Couldn't trust was a luxury we'd lost along with everything else. But something in her tone, desperation mixed with steel, made me respond. Zane Draven aboard the Banshee, barely functional but alive. More voices joined over the next few days, each one a ghost story wrapped in flesh and bone. Axel Kane piloting a mining hauler that should have been scrapped years ago, his entire crew dead, except for him trapped in the engine room when the life support failed. Nova Chen commanding what was left of a research vessel, half her ship blown away, but the course still intact, her team of xenobiologists turned into impromptu soldiers. Viper Russo, an interceptor fighter built for speed, not survival, his squadron wiped out in the first exchange, leaving him alone with enough ammo for one last fight. And Dex Holt, the mystery, a special operations ghost whose ship the Reaper appeared on our scanners, like a bad omen bristling with weapons that officially didn't exist. 17 names, 17 broken souls, 17 reasons to make the bastards pay. We met in the shadow of Europa's ice fields, using Jupiter's radiation to mask our signatures, neutral ground surrounded by the corpse of humanity's greatest achievement. Dex floated in the center of our formation, his ship's hull scarred by weapons fire helmet reflecting the distant glow of Jupiter's storms. They left a trail. He said 3 words that ignited hope in 17 dead hearts. Turned out the genocidal monsters weren't as perfect as they thought. Energy signatures from their hyperspace drives, particle traces in the cosmic dust breadcrumbs leading back to wherever they came from. Nova pulled up the data on her screen's vectors and trajectories, painting a path through dead space toward the galactic rim. "What are you suggesting?" Kira asked, her voice tight with barely controlled rage. "I'm suggesting we follow them," I said, checking the Banshee's weapon systems. "We find their nest and we burn it to the ground." Axel laughed bitter and sharp. 17 ships against whatever did this to Earth, you're insane. "Not to win," Dex replied, his voice cold as vacuum. "To make them pay, to show them what happens when you underestimate human spite." Viper powered up his fighter's engines. "I'm in, got nothing left to lose anyway." The vote was unanimous. We became something else that day. Not soldiers we'd been, that not survivors. We were that something darker, something hungrier. Predators. The journey took 8 days through systems that had been dead for millennia, following their trail like bloodhounds. Each hyperspace jump brought us closer to answers and further from any hope of return. On day 3, we lost Martinez. His cargo hauler suffered a cascade failure during jump entry reactor, went critical, no explosion, just a brief flash of light. Then nothing. 16 ships left. On day 5, we found the first clue, a derelict space station older than human civilization hanging in the void like a dried corpse. Nova's scanners picked up traces of the same energy signature we were following. "They've been here before," she reported, voice tight. "This station, it's been processed, same signatures, same molecular residue." Inside the station, we found them, the previous occupants transformed into something that wasn't quite alive, wasn't quite dead. Organic components fused with mechanical systems, creating hybrid entities that served functions we couldn't understand. "Jesus Christ," Axel whispered, examining what had once been the station's command crew. "What did they do to them?" "They improved them," Dex said grimly, studying the neural interface cables growing from one creature's skull. "Turned them into living computers, biological components in a larger machine." That's when I understood the aliens weren't just conquerors, they were transformers, reshaping every species they encountered into components of something larger, something incomprehensibly vast. "They're building something," Nova said, scanning the creature's modified brain tissue, using the neural patterns of conquered species as processing nodes in a massive distributed intelligence. "A god made of slaves," Kira whispered. "We didn't linger, downloaded what data we could, and jumped out. But the image stayed with us, those twisted hybrid things that had once been people like us." Day 6 brought us to the edge of known space where the star charts ended and madness began. The trail led to a system that shouldn't exist, a brown dwarf star surrounded by artificial structures so massive they defied comprehension. Planet-sized constructs connected by streams of energy that painted the void in colors that hurt to look at. "My God," Nova breathed, staring at her sensor readings. "The energy output from those structures, it's impossible they're drawing power directly from the star's core." "What are they building?" Viper asked, his fighter's weapons already armed. "Themselves," Dex replied grimly. They're not just conquerors, they're self-replicating machines using conquered species as raw materials to expand their consciousness. In the center of it all hung something that made my sanity flinch, a sphere, the size of a moon covered in what looked like neural tissue pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "That's where they took them," Kira said, voice hollow. "That's where they took everyone." We could feel it even from this distance, a vast intelligence pressing against our minds, trying to understand us, categorize us, process us. "Change of plans," I said over the comm. "We're not just blowing this thing up?" "What do you have in mind?" Axel asked. "We're going inside first. We find our people. Then we turn this place into their tomb." The assault began at what passed for dawn in a system where light came from dying stars and artificial suns. Dex led the first wave, the Reaper's illegal weapons carving through the outer defenses like they were made of paper, while Nova and her research vessel analyzed their defensive patterns in real time. "Their shields are adaptive," she reported, "learning from each attack, adjusting frequency to match our weapons." "Then we don't give them time to adapt," Viper replied, his interceptor diving through a gap in their coverage missiles, streaming behind him like angry comets. I took the Banshee straight at the neural sphere, using every trick I'd learned in 23 years of military service, evasive maneuvers that would have made my old flight instructor proud. The sphere's surface opened like a flower petals of living tissue parting to reveal docking bays filled with ships I recognized. Human ships? The entire Terran defense fleet sitting silent and dark in berths designed for their exact specifications. "They didn't destroy our ships," Kira whispered over the comm. "They stole them." We docked alongside a heavy cruiser that had been Admiral Reyes's flagship, the TCS. Defiant, her hull unmarked, her systems powered down but intact. Inside was worse than the derelict station corridors that breathed walls that pulsed with alien rhythms. And everywhere the sound of human voices singing in harmony, but wrong somehow like a choir of the damned. We found them in what had been the ship's crew quarters, humans floating in tanks of amber fluid, neural cables snaking from their skulls, feeding their dreams and memories into the sphere's vast consciousness. But they were still alive, still aware. Their eyes tracked our movement, recognized us. Admiral Reyes floated in the largest tank, his once proud face slack with acceptance. Tubes feeding directly into his brainstem. When he saw me, his mouth moved, forming words I couldn't hear, but could read on his lips. "Kill me." I did what he asked, what they all asked: 17 mercy killings, 17 more souls added to the debt these monsters owed humanity. That's when we heard an applause, slow, rhythmic, echoing through the corridors. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall, elegant, wearing a form that was almost human, but wrong in ways that made my skin crawl. Too tall, too pale, too perfect. Magnificent, its said voice layered with harmonics that bypassed my ears and spoke directly to my brain. Such beautiful complexity, such elegant neural architecture. Dex fired first plasma rifle, set to maximum. The bolt should have vaporized anything human-sized. Instead, it passed through the figure like it was made of light. "Energy beings," Nova gasped, scanning the creature. "They're not biological, they're pure information, wearing matter like clothing." "But information can be corrupted," the creature said with what might have been amusement. "And matter can be improved. Observe." The walls around us shifted, revealing more tanks, hundreds of them, filled with humans in various stages of transformation. Some still recognizably human, others twisted into forms that serve specific functions. Living weapons, organic computers, biological components in the sphere's vast intelligence. "We are perfection," the creature continued, gesturing to its collection. "The sum total of 1,000,000 species' greatest achievements combined into something greater than the whole." "You're parasites," I snarled, checking my weapons charge. "You steal what others create and call it evolution." "We are teachers," it replied calmly, "showing lesser species their true potential, freeing them from the constraints of individual consciousness." That's when Kira found her, the human at the center of it all, floating in a tank larger than the others, neural cables as thick as my arm feeding into her skull. It was impossible, but there she was, Admiral Sarah Chen, commander of the lost colony ship Exodus, reported destroyed 15 years ago in the Vega Nebula. "She's the core," Nova whispered, scanning the tank's contents. They're using her neural patterns as the template for their consciousness expansion. Admiral Chen's eyes opened, looked directly at me through the amber fluid, and I saw something that chilled me more than the cold of space. Recognition and gratitude. End it. Her voice came through the tank's communication system, weak but determined. Destroy the core and they lose cohesion. You cannot, the creature said, its perfect composure cracking. She is the foundation upon which we have built our consciousness. Her destruction will unravel everything. That's the idea, I replied, raising my plasma rifle. The creature screamed, not with its voice, but with its mind, a psychic assault that dropped half my team to their knees. But I'd been trained to resist mental attacks learned the hard way during the Vega conflicts. I fired. The plasma bolt punched through the tank's containment field. Admiral Chen's body convulsed once, then went still, and throughout the sphere I could hear something breaking. The creature's form began to waver, losing cohesion as the neural network that sustained it collapsed. Other figures materialized throughout the ship, the collected consciousness of the sphere's component beings. But without their central template, they couldn't maintain stability. "What have you done?" one of them wailed, its voice fragmenting into static. "We were eternal, we were perfect." "You were thieves," Kira said, setting charges on the sphere's neural core, "and now you're dead." We fought our way back to the docking bay, the sphere's defenses failing as its controlling intelligence fragmented. Behind us, the hybrid creatures that had once been human were shutting down their borrowed consciousness, returning to whatever void had spawned them. But the sphere had one last surprise as we reached our ships. It opened a portal not to normal space, but somewhere else somewhere, that made reality bend and twist. Through the breach, I saw them, thousands of other spheres scattered across impossible distances, each one a node in a network that spanned galaxies. "There are others," the dying intelligence whispered into our minds. "So many others, and now they know you exist." The portal collapsed just as our ships cleared the sphere's hull, the entire structure imploding as its neural core went critical, taking the brown dwarf system with it. We drifted in hyperspace, 16 ships filled with survivors who'd seen too much, learned too much. "What now?" Nova asked, her voice hollow with exhaustion. I stared at the coordinates the sphere had leaked in its death throes, hundreds of them, scattered across the galaxy, each one another node in the network. "Now we hunt," I said, "every last one of them." 16 ships against a galactic network. Axel laughed bitterly. "We're not soldiers anymore, we're insects. Insects can carry disease," Dex replied, checking his weapons, "and we just became very contagious." Over the next 3 months, we hit 7 more nodes, each one smaller than the first, but still containing thousands of processed humans. We couldn't save them all, too far gone too, integrated into the network, but we could free them. And with each node we destroyed, we learned more about our enemy. They called themselves the Convergence, a collective intelligence that had been spreading across the galaxy for millions of years, absorbing civilizations and adding their knowledge to an ever-growing library of consciousness. They saw themselves as gardeners, cultivating intelligence wherever they found it. But what they really were was a virus spreading from star to star, leaving behind empty worlds populated by hybrid slaves. The nodes were connected by quantum entanglement, communicating instantaneously across impossible distances, but that connection was also their weakness. Destroy enough nodes and the network would fragment, lose cohesion, collapse under its own weight. "How many do we need to destroy?" Kira asked, studying the intelligence we'd gathered. "All of them," Nova replied grimly. "The network is redundant. Lose 100 nodes and the others compensate. Lose 1,000 and they adapt but destroy them all simultaneously." "Impossible," Viper said. "We're 16 ships against thousands of targets." That's when I had the idea, the one that would either save humanity or damn us all. "We don't destroy them," I said, "we infect them." I explained my plan using the Convergence's own network against them. We'd create a virus, not biological, but informational, something that would spread through their quantum links and corrupt their shared consciousness. "You're talking about building a weapon that could destroy any networked intelligence," Nova said, her face pale, "including our own AI systems." "The price of freedom," I replied. "Sometimes you have to burn the house down to kill the rats." It took us 2 weeks to build the virus using salvage convergence technology and human ingenuity. We created something that was part computer program, part psychic weapon designed to exploit the flaws in their collective consciousness. The delivery system was simple. We'd infiltrate the largest node we could find, upload the virus to their core systems, and let it spread through the network like wildfire. The target was a construct the size of a solar system wrapped around a dying star, its surface covered with processing centers where millions of beings lived in network bliss. Getting inside was the easy part. The convergence didn't see us as a threat, just another species to be processed. But once we were in, once they realized what we were doing, the real war began. They threw everything at us, hybrid creatures that had once been human ships that flew like living things, weapons that targeted not just our bodies, but our minds. We lost 8 ships in the fighting. Good people who died, so the rest of us could reach the core. Kira was the one who made the final sacrifice, her ship, the only one small enough to reach the upload terminal. She went in alone, knowing she wouldn't come out. "Tell them," she said over the comm as defensive fire tore her ship apart. "Tell them we never stopped fighting." The virus uploaded just as her ship exploded, spreading through the convergence network at the speed of thought. Across the galaxy, thousands of nodes went silent, their collective consciousness fragmenting into individual components that couldn't survive alone. The hybrid creatures shut down their borrowed intelligence, returning to whatever had animated them. The processed humans died, but they died free, their consciousness finally released from networked hell. We did it, 8 survivors in as many ships floating in the wreckage of an enemy that had conquered 1,000 worlds. But victory felt like ash in my mouth because we'd paid for it with everything we had left. Earth was still gone, its people still dead, transformed into components of a machine that no longer existed. "What now?" Nova asked, her voice empty. I looked at the star charts at all the empty systems where civilizations had once thrived. "Now we rebuild," I said. "We find other survivors, other species that escaped the convergence, and we build something better." "With what?" Axel asked. "We're 8 people with 8 ships. We're 8 people who killed a god," Dex corrected. "That's got to count for something." Over the next 5 years, we did rebuild not an empire, not a federation, but something new. We found them scattered throughout the galaxy, survivors of species the convergence had tried to process, some still fully biological, others hybrid creatures who'd retained their individuality. Together we built stations in dead systems, refugees for those who'd escaped networked hell. We called it the Free Alliance, not because we were free from oppression, but because we'd chosen freedom over perfection. I'm old now, my hair gray, my hands shaking from too many battles, too many losses. But I still patrol the outer rim in the Banshee, still watching for signs of the convergence's return. Because they're still out there, fragments of the network that survived our virus, isolated nodes that lost contact with the whole, but retained their hunger for processing. Sometimes I dream of Earth not as it died, but as it lived, children playing in parks, lovers walking hand in hand under alien stars. And sometimes I dream of the future of the civilization we're building, one refugee at a time, one survivor at a time. It's not perfect, nothing built by broken people ever is, but it's ours. Free of networks, free of collective consciousness, free to make our own mistakes and learn from them. The convergence wanted to make us perfect. Instead, they made us human. And humanity endures. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but because we're too stubborn to quit, too angry to forgive, too human to be anything else. This is Zane Draven aboard the Banshee, broadcasting on all frequencies to anyone out there still fighting, still running, still refusing to be processed. You are not alone. We are here, and we're building something worth fighting for. The war is over. The peace has begun, and it starts with remembering who we are, human, flawed, free, and absolutely refusing to be anything else. Stay strong, stay free, stay human, because that's all we've ever needed to be.